Now, coming to us from the Cleveland area, which I'm not allowed to call the mistake by the lake, Ted Wetzel is a recovering engineer who spent 5 years at a Fortune 500 company, 17 years in marketing and management at smaller manufacturers, and then 11 years as a small business owner before turning his passion to this passion project. He created Fighting to Understand to spread the message that civic education and a collaborative spirit among everyday Americans can restore the core values of a democratic republic for the next generation. Fighting to Understand does this by forming a collaborative cross-section of regular people who fight to understand a topic and then present their findings to other regular people. Their maiden voyage is a book entitled, Is America Broken? Ted attempts to be a regular person and relishes the chance to collaborate with others of goodwill. As that regular person, Ted has been trying to pay attention while in roles of husband, father, son, brother, uncle, grandfather, friend, student, neighbor, coach, engineer, marketer, salesperson, instructor, business owner, worshiper, encourager, inventor, appreciator of arts, writer, and today, fortunately for us, speaker. Ted has stated that his first job was a carrier for the afternoon Cleveland Press newspaper, where the printing presses had been idle for decades. It was there that he experienced his first recession, when his paper route daily customer base fell from 58 to 49. He believes that life is like a bicycle. It's easiest to steer if you keep moving. I have thoroughly enjoyed my several and varied conversations with Ted over the past 2 years, and I am sure you will as well. Please welcome Ted Wetzel.
Thank you, Russ. Okay, hello, folks. So welcome to the 5 critical arenas for civility. Russ, thanks for the intro. Sorry for the pointing and clicking that was confusing. So the 5 critical areas. In order to understand the 5 critical arenas, we have to kind of understand the big problems. First of all, as you can already guess, I am this white middle-aged guy raised in suburbia, Catholic family. You probably wouldn't have guessed that, but I come from this white guy perspective. So I have tried through the 3 years of research to broaden my perspective. So when we wrote the book, 18 other people collaborated with me of all different ethnicities, religious backgrounds, etc. So just want to give a little caveat there. Just take 10 seconds on a scrap of paper or make a mental note. The thing that you think needs to change for America to be put back on the trajectory of the American experiment, or what's holding us back. And we're going to check what you wrote at the end of this presentation, see if we included it. And if we haven't, I need to know about it because it needs to be included. 10 seconds. All right, we're ready. Another 10 seconds for the Trekkies in the room, the Star Trekkies. What is our founder's prime directive? So put yourself in their shoes. 250 years ago, breaking away from England. What was the thing that they wanted to be sure they got right? So again, if we're going to identify the critical arenas, we have to understand the critical directives. The critical directive, avoid accumulated power. So we do not want a king, we do not want a bishop, we do not want a landlord. In fact, we want to be self-governed. We want, and we call that be free. But really, be free means self-governed. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. I want to remind you, I'm not a political scientist. I have interviewed several political scientists. 3 years ago, I left my business career and got into this full time. And so everything here has been learned in 3 years. So we are in this perfect storm. What, a perfect storm, another name for it is the 100-year storm. And of course, it's called the 100-year storm because it only happens every 100 years. It turns out that accumulated power happens as a cycle. Political scientists tell me that it happens about every 50 to 100 years. So what is it about accumulated power? Well, it's certainly not our divine nature to accumulate power. It's just human nature. And it takes time to accumulate power. So this is like a cycle. Simultaneously with this perfect storm is the industrial age, which happened to just coincide almost like within decades of each other. The Industrial Revolution and the growth of the colonies and then the United States. So we've ridden this power boat and trains across the country that have just so happened to coincide. Capitalism, central banking, the whole go west, people, and expand was all part of this. And this has now plateaued. And now we're on the edge of this information age, which is like a very steep ramp. At the same time, we've gotten like super, super successful. And when things get successful, people tend to rest on their laurels, and we became the me on cruise control, and we rather took our eye off of the we ball. Consumerism, advertising, mass media, credit cards, retirement accounts. It's just success on steroids, really. And during that time, we moved from, as Robert Putnam, he's an author that you hear about, talks about moving from the front porch to the back patio, and then from the back patio to the family room, and then from the family room to the man cave. We have just learned to isolate ourselves. All the while, the symptoms grow slowly until they become pretty gaping wealth gaps and race gaps and opportunity gaps. And we start to have unfinished business piling up. These are all symptoms. Underlying it all is this information superhighway now that basically doesn't have too many guardrails. And so we have this crisis of integrity. So this is the perfect storm. Crisis of integrity, accumulated power, and we the people that became me the people. We checked out. The silver lining is that things are so darn complex now that it can drive us to be we again. And it does seem to be driving us to the perfect transformation. So the perfect storm can transition into the perfect transformation. The perfect transformation turns out to be figuring out how to be we the people all over again. But the big question is how, and that's why we're gathered here for 2 days. We're trying to avoid, this accumulation of power. Many, many efforts have sprung up over the last 2 decades, especially the last decade. And there have been many reports written and grassroots efforts. Here's just 5 of them. President Trump's 1776 report. Look it up. It's got good stuff in it. The American Academy of Arts and Sciences report called Our Common Purpose. good stuff. Hillsdale College has great stuff. The openmindplatform.org, Citizen University, and hundreds more. Almost no one statistically knows about these things. Less than 1%, less than 0.5% of Americans know about these efforts. And they all fall into 5 strategic actions. By the way, we didn't really make up 5 strategic actions. We took 150 of these organizations and sorted them into piles to see what people are working on. So we're just kind of mirroring back to you what are the 5 strategic actions, what is relevant to reinventing or remembering we the people. By the way, it makes sense too that this would be this kind of crazy compilation of ingenuity and invention and grassrootsness. It's just kind of the American way. It wouldn't be American for us to have big government decide how we're going to fix this problem. It really, truly needs to be we the people figuring this out. Okay, so take out your little scrap of paper or recall in your head what was your idea. Here are the 5 arenas for civility. By the way, 5. Not one of the 5 is sufficient by itself. They really make up a pretty wonderful strategy. Again, not my strategy, our strategy that seems to be bubbling up from we the people. The first strategy is civic pride, civic education, and civic service. Again, we didn't make these up. I'm not selling this to you. I'm just telling you what people are out there doing and what bled through these reports, especially the 2 reports, 1776 from Donald Trump administration and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences report helped to put this together. So civic pride and education and service, it talks a lot about, maybe we really need 1 year of service for every American. Right now, less than 2% of Americans serve the country. And the basic way to do that is through the military. Such a service plan like this would be, serving the elderly, helping with Parks and Rec, helping the young people learn how to read, all kinds of great ideas for a year of service. And education would go from K through 12 and then all the way up to age 92. I mean, us adults have to learn about civility. There's a lot to learn. Strategy 2 involves election integrity and unrigging the election system. So here actually is a frontal attack on the accumulation of power. Power is accumulated by who gets elected, and who gets elected gets manipulated by accumulated power. Things like gerrymandering, being primaried out, term limits, dark money, and several other wonderful ideas to basically declaw accumulated power. And by the way, yes, it also includes being sure that votes are real votes and are counted accurately. And we include as many Americans as we can in the voting process. Strategy 3 is harmonizing the voice of the people. This is very big area for civility. So if we are going to declaw the accumulated power, we need to have a harmonized voice of the people. one term that's used for this is like citizen cabinets, because after all, we vote, right? But we also need to like be able to have our voice, not just on voting day, but throughout the year. And Americans turn out to be far less divided, as has already been mentioned. And uh, Americans are very pragmatic when you put them in a cross-pollinated group, so to speak, to work together. Strategy 4 is using technology for virtue, because right now, God knows, we all know, technology is being used to drive wedges in, it's being used to advertise and subdivide us into all manner of groups. It's used for fear and anger. It's used for politics to buy votes. And so this strategy number 4 is putting technology to use. So that would be an information highway that we could trust. There's that T word, trust. And reinventing news. And one thing you'll see at the end is there are portals evolving. One is like brand new, just announced last week, for we the people to bring our voice together. Finally, strategy number 5 is nurturing leaders for the people above the party. You know, it doesn't take a lot of research to figure out that our leaders spend an inordinate amount of time dialing for dollars and being able to get enough money. And there's strings attached to that money. So they end up not being so interested in their own constituents, but more about the party and who funded their campaign. This is a little summary sheet. So I'm hoping that we get to send out these slides. So the summary sheet might help. Again, these 5 areas: civic pride, education and service, election integrity and unrigging, harmonized voice of the people, technology for virtue, nurturing leaders for the people above the party. All right, it's time. Does those 5 capture your thing that needs to be done? If not, I want to definitely hear about it, but I hope that it does capture your thing. Otherwise, we've got to get your thing out there and play the American game of invention. Here are 3 portals that are available. The last one is part of the website that we have at Fighting to Understand. It hasn't been updated in over a year, but it is actually pretty good, and we built it on nickels and dimes, but it is quite effective. And again, this will be in the slides that we can give away. So there's another one at Princeton, and then the top one is the one that was just released a week ago. It's in its infancy. I'm aware of what they're doing, and it's going to be better and better. They are committed to a portal that can be very helpful. That's it. Let's explore together. Look forward to some Q&A.
Ted, thanks a million. It's so incredible to see how much progress you have made in less than 2 years of this. You never cease to amaze me with your creativity, with your deep thought, and how actionable what you create is. I'd encourage all of you to check out his books, especially Fighting to Understand. And we will make Ted's as well as other materials available to everybody. So rest assured. Ted, thank you.